Greetings. This is a lesson on Greco-Roman mythology, focusing on the epic cycle, that is, the Trojan War, the Marvel comic book universe of Greco-Roman mythology. This is an outline of the epic cycle. The Grecian epic cycle, it's a collection of Greek epic poems detailing the events of the Trojan War. There are typically 8 epics which are cited. Now, we only really have the Iliad and the Odyssey, books 2 and book 7. The other books have been lost over the many centuries. Now, we have sort of the Amazon reviews of these books. We have people who were alive when the books were in existence. They read them, they wrote down what happened, they summarized them. We have those summaries. We know what happens roughly in each book. We roughly know the author of each book, and we roughly know the number of books. So this video will mostly focus on the events found in the first book of the epic cycle, which has been historically called the Cypria, the Cypria, by Stasimus. Summary of events: the marriage of Peleus and Thetis, the judgment of Paris, the rape of Helen, the mustering of the Greeks, Iphigenia at Aulis, Philoktetes Marooned, and 9 years of war at Troy. So let us begin with the Cypria, or, as I also like to call it, me explaining how throwing an apple at some wedding guests at a wedding led to the rise of Rome. Let us begin at the beginning with silver-footed Thetis, the Nereid. The old man in the sea, whose name was Nereus. He's a primordial ocean deity, lives in the water, he's kind of fishy. He has 50 beautiful, outstandingly gorgeous, attractive daughters, one of whom was very famous for having married Poseidon and Aphrodite. These collection of 50 beautiful daughters, they're called the Nereids, meaning the daughters of Nereus, the old man in the sea. And exceedingly famous amongst already exceedingly famous goddesses was silver-footed Thetis. Silver-footed Thetis was so beautiful, she was so amazingly attractive, that she was pursued by Zeus himself, by Poseidon. Hey, wait, aren't those deities married? Yeah, of course, because that stopped them before. Many other gods, deities, attempted to pursue Thetis. They all wanted to go out with her because she was très hot. Unfortunately, there's a prophecy, because there always is a prophecy. Prophets are the narrators of history. If there were no prophecies or prophets, it's almost like we wouldn't have stories. So the gods refused to court Thetis. She all of a sudden became untouchable, undesirable, when a prophecy became known that the son of Thetis, Thetis's offspring, would one day grow up to be greater than his father. Okay, well, that's it. It's a running theme in Greek mythology that fathers are scared of their sons. For fathers, think of heaven, Uranos, think of Kronos, think of Zeus, think of the patriarchy, the father, masculine man, the head of the household, bearded, muscled, strong. He has a son. Of course he does. That's what he wants. He wants a son. He wants an heir. That son, that young man, that boy, looks kind of like him. But he's young. He's little. He's weak. He's not very bright. It's just a kid. But that kid grows up. That young man, he grows up. He gets bigger. He becomes faster. He becomes stronger. Meanwhile, what happens to Dad? Dad grows weaker. Dad grows older. Dad begins to fear What happens when this young man, this now very strong, virile young man who looks just like me, my son, what happens if he wants to take me out? What happens if he now wants to be king of the pride? Well, that's a running theme in Greek mythology. We really don't want to have anything to do with that. Fathers are scared of their sons. They're scared of being overthrown by a version of them that is younger, faster, stronger. So the gods stay away from Thetis. If there's a prophecy that it's absolutely foretold that the offspring of Thetis will be greater than his father, nope, no thanks. Nope, none of that. I'm gonna head out. So Zeus and the rest, fearing being overthrown by some offspring, decide that they better wed Thetis off to a mortal. Because who cares? Who cares if a mortal's offspring becomes greater than the father? So the hero Peleus, famous for having gone on the quest for the Golden Fleece on the Argo with Jason and Heracles, he's palled around with some of the greatest heroes of the heroic age. He is chosen for the husband of Thetis. However, Thetis refused him, and because this is Greek mythology, unfortunately, no does not always mean no. Remember, no means no, despite what the stories say. Anyway, Zeus and the gods instruct Peleus to sneak up on Thetis. Oh yeah, this isn't very cool. She's sunning on the beach because remember, she's a tray-hot daughter of the old man in the sea. They like to sun. Think of them as sort of like mermaids. They're kind of on the fishy side of things. They spend their time in the water. Maenads. So she's sunning on the beach, catching some rays. He then grabbed a hold of her, snuck up on her, grabbed a hold of her. Now, because she's a goddess, she has the power of transformation. She can change form. So she begins to change from shark to lion to seal to puddle of water. Peleus is instructed to keep hanging on. Don't let go. But she's a puddle of water. No, do not let go of that puddle of water. Seal? She's a seal, a lion. She was just a shark. How am I supposed to do? Not let go, dude. Okay, fine. So Peleus, he held on. Finally, Thetis gave in to Peleus, and she consented. Yes, finally, she consented in this version of the story to wed him. And their wedding was the event of the year, the grand gala event. Everyone is invited to this wedding. This is the wedding to end all weddings. It's a fabulous affair. Mortal royalty, deities, all of the gods, all of the personifications of all of the abstract things being invited to the banquet. Every single one of them except for, of course, Eris. Eris, the goddess of discord. Why would you invite discord? That's basically divorce. Why would you invite divorce to your wedding? You wouldn't. You wouldn't invite divorce to your wedding. Divorce, discord, disharmony, not appropriate at a wedding. So, of course, Eris, maybe she was overlooked, maybe it was innocent, maybe purposely. Who knows? Who cares? Because, of course, we really don't know the provocation, but we do know the reaction. To avenge her honor, she decided to disrupt the marriage because, of course, what is she but the goddess of discord? That's her job. So she goes to the Garden of the Hesperides. You know, she's a goddess. She's a daughter of chaos. She sort of just flips on over to the Garden of the Hesperides because the Hesperides, the daughters of the evening, what did they grow in their garden? Amongst many fabulous plants, they also have an orchard of golden apples. So Eris, walking through the beautiful golden orchard of the Hesperides in the evening lands, she plucks a golden apple from the nearest branch. She inspects it, breathes on it, polishes it against her dress, holds it up, and with an extremely long and sharp fingernail, carves like fingernails on the chalkboard. toi kalistoi, for the fairest. This apple belongs to the fairest. That is the superlative fairest. Not just pretty, not just kind of pretty, not just très attractive. Fairest, the most beautiful in the world, owns this apple. Eris, flitting back to the wedding, because of course as a goddess she can fly great distances in a short span of time. Returning to the wedding, she tosses the golden apple in the midst of the wedding guests, and then, clapping her hands together, job well done, she walks off, because that's all she really needs to do. As a side note, invite people to weddings. Think of the fairy tale Sleeping Beauty, where the king and queen finally have a daughter after trying for so long. They have a beautiful daughter, and they invite the good fairies to bless the daughter at the christening. In the original story, there are 7, each corresponding to a color. Now, there aren't enough golden plates to go around. So at the banquet, there are only 6 golden plates. Something happened to the 7th golden plate, and therefore they have to not invite one of the 7 fairies. It's usually the red fairy in the different versions, the red fairy who is not invited to the christening. The other fairies are. So at the christening, the fairies bestow their gifts upon the child. And the red fairy, who had heard about the party, she shows up and says, so I guess my invitation got lost in the mail. And, oh, wow, sorry, this is awkward. Well, yeah, please don't kill us. And of course, the red fairy curses the child to die. But she interrupted the ceremony before the last fairy could give her gift to the baby, and the last fairy alters her gift so that instead of the baby dying, pricking her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel by her 16th birthday, she changes it from her dying to her just falling asleep until she's awoken by love's first kiss. So the moral of the story is invite people to your wedding, because it could be a demented red fairy, or it could be the goddess of discord who throws an apple at your wedding guests, and then, surprise, you've got the rise of Rome. Anyway, tangent averted. Now, golden apple, just lying on the floor in the midst of this party. And it's a pretty rockin' party. And young woman bends over, picks up the apple, she inspects it and sees that written on the side, it says, for the fairest, for the prettiest woman in the world. Why, of course, that must be me, she thinks. She hurries over to her best friend, because who else but her best friend wants to hear that she is the prettiest in the world? Look, I found a golden apple. It's obviously for me because I'm the prettiest one in the room. Her friend scoffs. What? Girl, no. Takes the apple. Absolutely not. I'm the prettiest in the room. Wait, says another woman, overhearing. Did you just say you're the prettiest? Excuse me. No. Wait, that golden apple is obviously for me. I'm the prettiest in the room. And so on and so forth, as the guests begin to fight over who's the prettiest, who gets the apple. Eris, goddess of discord. Gotta love her work. So the mortal women, fight begins to break out. They then stop fighting and step aside when 3 goddesses step forward to take the apple. And here they are pictured. You can see Zeus right here. Here's Hermes. Here's Hera. Here's Aphrodite, because she's naked and has a puto right here. And Athena. And there, of course, is the cursed apple of discord. The 3 goddesses. Hera, goddess of marriage, queen of the gods. Athena, the goddess of warfare and wisdom. And Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. They step forward to claim the apple. And of course, the mortal women don't want to touch that because they're going to get turned into spiders or something. We've read these stories. We know what happens. You get turned into a deer, a spider, something to do with swans. It's a bad scene. Don't do it. Don't mess with the goddesses. But no one wants to pick one goddess. Because, of course, if you pick one goddess of these three rather very powerful goddesses, the other two are going to hate you forever. If you pick Aphrodite, Athena, Hera, they're going to hate you forever. If you pick Athena, Aphrodite and Hera hate you forever. It's not a great thing. It's a terrible position to be in. So they approach Zeus, and they say, Zeus, please, Father, Daddy, husbands, it's just difficult for me to pick one of you, says Zeus, thinking to himself that these are one daughter, Aphrodite, another daughter, Athena, and his wife/sister, Hera. So what's he going to do? Zeus is clever. He is a liar, he is a fraud, he is a cheat, amongst many things. Also a womanizer. And being a liar and a womanizer, he quickly figures out what to do. So lying, he says, I'm sorry, ladies, I know absolutely nothing of women. Nothing at all. You know what? I just don't know my way around a woman. Don't know what to do. Can't say anything about beauty. I am absolutely an amateur in this department. However, I do know of a man who is well versed in beauty. A man who knows his way around a woman, who knows his way around a lot of women. His name is Paris. He is a shepherd. He lives on Mount Ida in the Troad. He's an excellent judge of beauty. He knows exactly what is hot right now. He is, shall we say, a womanizer. Now, side story on Paris. He's a young man. He lives as a shepherd. He's a very good-looking young man. He is known for sleeping with married men's wives. He's been around quite a bit. He currently has a girlfriend, the nymph Ononi, but he has lots and lots of girlfriends. Unknown to him, however, he was not actually born the son of a shepherd on Mount Ida. He was actually born a prince of Troy. His real name is Alexandros, Prince of Troy. He is one of the 50 sons of the King Priam and Queen Hecuba. No, not all the children came from Queen Hecuba. King Priam has many wives. However, Paris, Alexandros, he is a son of Hecuba. Shortly before the birth of Alexandros of Paris, while Hecuba, the queen of Troy, was in labor pains with him, it was the princess Cassandra who had the gift of prophecy. Oh no, you're thinking, these prophecies again? Oh yes, prophecies all over the place. Can't go through this story without a good prophecy here and there. So the princess Cassandra, who was beloved by Apollo and was given the gift of prophecy, she prophesied that her mother was about to give birth to a burning brand, a torch, that would one day destroy Troy, burn it to the ground. Whoa, that's crazy. So, believing the gift of Apollo that had been bestowed upon Cassandra, they decided that not to kill Alexandros, because killing babies just isn't cool. That's not cool. We don't want to do that. Let's save the baby's life. But if he stuck around here as a prince of Troy, he's probably pretty likely to burn down the city somehow. I mean, knock over a torch. I mean, maybe he's an exceptionally clumsy child. Who knows? I mean, the details of the prophecy are kind of vague. So let's send him to live on Mount Ida, the son of a shepherd. What trouble could this young boy get into on Mount Ida? And they lived happily ever after, and nothing bad ever happened again. No! Imagine everyone's shock when Paris is up near Mount Ida, herding sheep, when three very beautiful and very annoyed goddesses show up with a golden apple of discord from the Garden of the Hesperides, which was thrown during the marriage banquet of Peleus and Thetis, and they ask him to please judge a beauty contest. Who gets this apple? Because there's some dispute about which one of the three of us is the fairest in the world. Who gets the apple? So we have Paris here. We have Aphrodite. You can tell because she's got the little puto there. And we have here Hera. You can tell by the peacock right here. Hera's bird. And she's looking rather imperious. And then we have Athena here. Now note, Athena is a virgin goddess, and she's also kind of a tomboy. She's pretty masculine. She wears armor. She plays with weapons. This is really the only time in Greek mythology in which Athena, in which Minerva disrobes, in which she's naked and kind of plays up girly. Now there is a historical link from the earlier Eastern religions, from which Greek drew its mythology and its gods, that Athena and Aphrodite are originally the same deity. The goddess of love is also a warrior goddess, and the Greeks have split them into a distinct goddess of love, Aphrodite, and a distinct goddess of war, a war goddess and a wisdom goddess, Athena. But originally in the earlier Eastern religions, they're the same. So these goddesses show up, and they demand of Paris, who's an exiled prince of Troy, unknown to him, that he should judge this beauty contest. Paris, being a rather sneaky womanizer, says, "I'm sorry, deities, ladies, goddesses, but I cannot have an accurate judge of your beauty unless you disrobe. You're going to have to get naked for me." Ah, dude, he's terrible. But of course, some would say, don't hate the playa, hate the game. No, it's okay. You can hate both. So here we have Peter Paul Rubens. We have Paris. We have Hermes, who sort of, I guess, just for fun, maybe just to make sure that the apple got to where it was going. Once again, check out the iconography of the goddesses, and you can figure out which ones are which. So we have the peacock here, Hera's bird, so this is going to be Hera. This one is Aphrodite. There's the Puto. And then here we have Athena, and the Gorgoneon, the Aegis, right here. All right, so the goddesses strip down, and they model themselves for Paris. But of course, they're just not going to let their beauty stand alone. That would be too easy. Each one of them has to bribe Paris. Give him a little sweetener to go with this deal. So Hera whispers into Paris's ear, "Paris, if you choose me as the fairest and give me the apple, I vow to give you dominion over all of Asia." Ooh, dominion over all of Asia, yes, it's very nice, yes, indeed. And Athena whispers into Paris's ear, "Paris, if you pick me as the fairest in the world and give me the apple, I vow to give you invincibility in warfare and victory against the Aegeans." Victory? It's the Aegeans, the Greeks. Yes, the Greeks before they were Greeks, when they were Aegeans. Yes, victory. Invincibility in warfare. Unconquerability. I like that. Not able to be conquered. It's a good thing to have. Choices. And Aphrodite whispered into Paris's third ear. Wait, what? "Paris, if you pick me as the fairest in the world and give me the golden apple, I will give you the most beautiful woman in the world." And all of a sudden, he's interested. Paris is a lover. He is not a fighter. In no way is he interested in dominions over all of Asia. In no way is he interested in invincibility in warfare and victory over the Achaeans. Paris, he is a lover. He is not a fighter. Of course he picked Aphrodite. The rest of you are screaming, no, you pick Athena and you become invincible in warfare, and then you conquer all of Asia, and then you take the most beautiful woman in the world. But Paris, of course, doesn't think like that. Paris is a lover. He's not a fighter. He picks Aphrodite. So Aphrodite is going to grant Paris the most beautiful woman in the world. And Paris has now earned the eternal hatred of Hera and Athena. Hera and Athena won't just hate Paris. Hera and Athena will hate the entire Trojan race. All of the Trojans, just because they're Trojan, just because they're related to Paris. Athena will get over that. She will take that chill pill far before Hera will. See the Aeneid. All right. The two goddesses, Hera and Athena, disappear, leaving Aphrodite to give Paris the digits of the most beautiful woman in the world. All right, this is where she lives. The most beautiful woman in the world, she is Helen. She's the daughter of Zeus. She's married to Menelaus, who is now the king of Sparta, making her the queen of Sparta. Time out. Let's talk about Helen. Side quest, Helen time. Once upon a time, there was Lēda. Lēda was the queen of Sparta. She was married to Tyndareus. Tyndareus, the king of Sparta. They were happy. But Zeus, oh no, this is how most of Greek mythology starts. So Zeus fell in love with Lēda because that's what Zeus does. He's the god of adultery. But he can't just do this. I mean, he has to do it in disguise. He has to have some sort of weird disguise involved. So he comes to Lēda in the form of a swan. As a result of this affair, that's right, the affair of Lēda and the swan. Here's a study for the Kneeling Lēda by Leonardo da Vinci. So Lēda, no, it's Zeus. Don't worry, it's a god. Seriously, it's a god. He's just in the form of a bird. Yikes, Greeks. Over here, playing amidst eggshells, are babies. Because, of course, the Greeks' poor knowledge of genetics leads to some pretty interesting things happening in their stories. So Tyndareus, he hooked up with his wife Lēda. Well, at the same time, or the same day, Lēda hooked up with Zeus, or I should say Zeus as the swan hooked up with Lēda. I don't think she had any choice in this. So Tyndareus, his offspring with Lēda, oh you Greeks, they're the mortal ones, Clytemnestra and Castor, whereas the demigod divine offspring of Zeus, yes, in the form of the Ak and Lēda, we have Philoktetes, who is probably better known as Pollux in Roman mythology, and Helen, there's your girl. Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world. That's right, Helen and Philoktetes were hatched from eggs because they're the offspring of Zeus in the form of a swan. They were hatched from eggs, and they are demigods. They are semi-divine. Castor and Pollux are famous twins. Clytemnestra is famous for other reasons we will talk about soon. And Helen is the most beautiful woman in the world. Now, when it came time for Helen to marry, all of the princes in Greece wished to marry her. They all courted her. Odysseus, Achilles, Agamemnon, Menelaus, they all courted her. Now, Tyndareus didn't want to pick just one. Where have we heard this story before? Because if he picks just one, he will anger the others. So he forces all of them, every single one of them, to swear an oath that no matter who marries Helen, if something were to happen to Helen, The rest of them will promise, they swear an oath, that they will rally to the defense of that man who's married to Helen, and they will do all that they can to help Helen, to recover Helen, to aid Helen. So basically, they draw straws, their names are put into a helmet, and Menelaus wins the hand of Helen. And when Tyndareus dies, he becomes the king of Sparta. His older brother, Agamemnon, he marries Clytemnestra, Helen's sister, and he becomes the king of Mycenae, of Mucinae, the most powerful Greek city, or Achaean city in this time in Achaea, and Menelaus, king of Sparta. So the brothers, the two of them, the sons of Atreus, Agamemnon, the elder brother, and Menelaus, they're quite a powerhouse. Paris, he knows that Helen, queen of Sparta, there's a king of Sparta. I wonder if they're married. Yes, dude, they are. They are married. King Menelaus, king, married to Helen, queen. Oh, yeah, but I picked a goddess. I picked the goddess of love, and she promised me the most beautiful woman in the world, so I'm going to collect my prize. So Paris goes to Sparta. Paris leaves the Troad, Troy, Mount Ida, and goes to Sparta. He is hospitably received at Sparta because of xenia. Xenia is a cultural concept of the ancient world. It means things pertaining to strangers, xenoi. It is a requirement in the ancient world that if someone were to come to your house, you would have to give them food, drink, entertainment, shelter, and aid to reach their destination. This is because it's dangerous outside. There aren't inns, there aren't places to stay, and you could sleep outside, but it's dangerous outside. So if you're traveling and you come across someone's home, there's a cultural concept in the ancient world that you're not going to be a jerk to them. You need things from them. They're going to give those things to you. They're not going to be a jerk to you. It's reciprocal. They're going to give things to you, and you're going to give things to them. It's a trade. It's back and forth. They will supply the host will supply a traveler with food, drink, entertainment, and shelter. In return, the guest is expected to be courteous, don't be a jerk, to be respectful in the host's home, and somehow pay back the favor. After the person has received food, drink, and entertainment, then they are to tell who they are, news, whence they came, anything that they know. You can see this cultural concept in the Odyssey, when Odysseus is amongst the Phaeacians. A lot of the Odyssey has to do with xenia, with hospitality, and what happens when you break hospitality. What happens when Odysseus and his men go into the Cyclops cave without permission and eat Polyphemus's food? Yeah, it doesn't turn out well for some of Odysseus's men. What happens to the suitors who are eating up Odysseus's home and food before he gets back from Troy? I'm getting ahead of myself, but it doesn't turn out well for the suitors. So violating these hospitality rules, this xenia, it ends badly. This cultural concept is so sacred. It's protected by Zeus. He's invoked under the name Zeus Xenios. Zeus pertaining to foreigners, strangers, hospitality. You do not break the rules of hospitality unless you want very, very bad things to happen to you. So I wonder if Paris is going to break xenia, because when he shows up, he makes eyes at Helen, and because he's very attractive, Helen makes eyes at him. Maybe you're wondering what happened to Paris's old girlfriend, the nymph Onone. Oh no! Yeah, he did it. He's a womanizer. Weird. Womanizers do what womanizers do. Paris has forgotten about poor Ononi. But don't worry. Don't forget about Ononi. She'll come back later. So when Menelaus is called away to business, and he leaves, I believe he's called away to Crete for some reason. He leaves Paris behind in Sparta with his wife and thinking the cultural concept of Xenia, protected by Zeus, he's not going to do anything weird with my wife. That would be ridiculous. That would mean like, oh, I don't know, a war, like say a 10-year war, which the bloom and flower of our civilization would clash and destroy each other. Yeah, surely not. Surely I, Menelaus, can leave my wife home alone with Paris. Xenia will protect us. Well, no, of course not. Helen and her dowry and all of her wealth. That's taken, kidnapped, the rape of Helen, the kidnap of Helen. It's taken by Paris back to Troy. The abduction of Helen. Now, either she's kidnapped, she's unwilling, or she's willing. Some versions of the myth, she's willing. She goes willingly with Paris. And of course, the Greeks, they're quite misogynistic, unfortunately. They usually go with that version because, of course, they have to cast Helen in a bad light. Don't hate her because she's beautiful, but the Greeks, especially the ancient Greeks, love to hate her because she's beautiful. Either version of the myth, she went willingly or not, the abduction or the rape of Helen, and there she goes. And the dowry goes with her, all the presents. In Homer's Iliad, they make complaints about this to the Trojans, that not only do you have Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world, you also have all of her presents and gifts and dowry that you took with her. Give it back. So Helen's gone. She's been kidnapped. Oh no! Menelaus returns. Where's my wife? Why did the cultural bonds of Xenia not remain strong and faithful? Oh no! So Menelaus raises the alarm. He calls all Achaeans to come to Helen's aid because there was an oath, right? Didn't everybody swear an oath? Because Helen was so hot and everyone wanted to marry her. Didn't everyone swear a blood oath that they would come to her aid should something happen to her? Well, guess what, guys? Something's happened to her. So Menelaus travels to Mycenae. Mycenae, Mycenae, where lives his elder brother, King Agamemnon, the most powerful king warlord. In ancient Greek, it's Anax or Wanax, warlord of Achaea, of the ancient Greek world. So Agamemnon, literally salivating at the idea of, hey, it's a great reason to go over to the Troad and maybe all of Asia. We could take it over, the entire coastline, raid the entire coast of Asia. Wouldn't that be nice? So the Achaean princes are ordered to assemble their armies. They are to bring their armies here at Aulis, a port city, and from there they will sail eastward to Troy. So send messengers far and wide. Tell all the chieftains, all the princes, all the kings, the warlords, the warriors of Greece to assemble at Aulis, ready to take on Troy. However, two princes are missing from the ranks of the Achaeans. The first was Odysseus. Odysseus, the wily king of the small island of Ithaca. Odysseus, the wiliest, the trixiest, the cunningest king of all of the Achaeans. He doesn't want to leave his wife, Penelope, his newborn son, Telemachus. She's just given birth to a newborn son. He does not want to leave his family. So being the wisest, the wiliest, the most cunning of all the Achaeans, he feigns madness to keep out of going to Troy, because no soldier is going to want to go to Troy to war with a crazy person. So when Agamemnon's soldiers are sent to the island of Ithaca to fetch the king, they're told, I don't know, he's sort of, all of a sudden, he's taken a turn for the worse. What do you mean? Well, let me just show you. They find him in the fields, sowing salt into his fields. They are horror-struck, dumbfounded. He's sowing salt. Oh, he must be insane. Only a madman would sow salt into his fields where he gets his food. It's how he stays alive. It's his livelihood. He's destroying his livelihood, because if you didn't know it, salt destroys vegetation. It doesn't just destroy vegetation, it destroys the soil. Salt ruins the soil. He's not just screwing himself over for one season. Oh no, we're just not going to have crops this year. He's not going to have crops for many years, lots of years, because the salt will absolutely ruin the soil. Only a crazy person, this is suicide. Only a crazy person would do this. So the soldiers are like, come on, let's get out of here before he crazies towards us, because this is just absolutely insane. He's out there with the plow hitched to horses or oxen, and he's sowing salt. Insane. Absolutely insane. Let's get out of here. But one soldier named Palamedes, not so easily tricked. Palamedes, this guy's pretty tricky. I don't know if we can trust him. We shouldn't trust him. Should we trust Odysseus? So, taking the child Telemachus, the newborn baby, out of the midwife's arms, he goes out into the fields and places the baby in the middle of the fields, right in the path of Odysseus and the plow. If Odysseus really is insane, if he's lost his wits, he'll just run that plow right through the baby. He won't know the difference. He's a madman. Look at him sowing salt in the field. He thinks that the salt is plants, that's seeds. He's crazy. He's not in his right mind. He doesn't know that he's about to slice his newborn son in half with that plow, or trample him to death underneath the hooves of horses or oxen. But if he has his wits, if he's not insane, Odysseus cannot bring himself to kill his newborn son Telemachus, so he turns his plow, his team aside, saving the life of his son, thereby proving he is not insane, proving that he has his wits. His trick discovered, the soldiers force him to go to war, leaving his wife Penelope and his newborn son Telemachus. The other prince who is missing from the ranks is Achilles, the greatest warrior of all time, at the age of 12 or something. Don't try and do the timeline. Timeline does not work, because he's the son of Peleus and Thetis. Weren't they getting married in the beginning of this story? 12 years have passed. Shh. Quiet. Be quiet. Hush. Don't. No. Stop it. Achilles is about 12 years old now. Greatest warrior of all time. Maybe as a demigod he ages faster. Anyway, he is sent to the court of King Lycomedes of Skyros. Skyros is an island. He is being hid on Skyros because his mother Thetis, knowing divine things, she's a goddess, she knows that he's going to die at Troy. Spoilers! So, she dresses him up as a girl and hides him amongst the 50, that is 50 Skyrian princesses. 50 Skyrian princesses, no one's going to notice that there's 51. When news reaches Odysseus that Achilles is hiding on Skyros, he immediately sails there, because 1, they can't leave without Achilles, and 2, Odysseus would feel much safer if Achilles went to war. I mean, the war is going to be easily won if Achilles is on their side, and Odysseus wants to hurry up and get back home. So he's going to employ his trickiest tricks in order to find out which of the princesses is Achilles, because, of course, they're princesses, they're royalty. You can't just line up these young girls and lift up their skirts and say, hey, found the boy. Gotta use a trick, cunning, cleverness. So, Odysseus disguises himself as a merchant carrying 2 bags of wares. Comes into the court, and he sets up 1 bag of wares, golden trinkets, gems, jewelry, bracelets, earrings, on one side of the court. On the other side of the court, out of his other bag of wares, he sets up a table of swords, of knives, of battle axes, spears, shields, fun stuff. The girls are then allowed to walk through the court, take their pick of the wares. And the girls pass up the weapons, walk on over to the shiny stuff, and begin to try on the jewelry, begin to fight over the jewelry, and compliment each other about the jewelry, putting on the earrings and the necklaces and the bracelets. But one girl doesn't seem too interested in the shiny stuff, and she begins to quietly and slowly sidle over to the other table where all the weapons are. She picks up a knife, she tests the edge, throws it up in the air, catches it behind the back, under the leg, etc. All the fun tricks. Then Odysseus, as the merchant, rushes into the court, shouting, "The island! It's under attack! Pirates! At the docks! They're going to kill us all!" At which point, this young princess, standing next to the table of weapons, grabs a battle axe in each hand and says, "Point me in the direction of the enemy." Of course, this is Achilles. He's been found out. Oh no. So, after they calm Achilles down because, he got really excited, all that bloodlust, Odysseus says, "I would like for you to come to war with me. I would feel much better if you were watching my back." "I don't know," says Achilles. Mom's worried that I'm going to die there." But Odysseus convinces Achilles that he should go because it'll be fun. It'll be great. Everyone will remember. This will be the greatest war of all time. Everyone will remember your name. You will achieve immortality. In fact, this was a choice given to Achilles. Achilles was given the choice. You can either remain home, remain in Achaea, do not go to war at Troy. You will live a long, happy life. You will marry, you will have beautiful children. You will watch them grow up, and they will marry, and they will have beautiful children. And you will watch them grow up. You will grow old, and you will die. Your children will remember you. Your grandchildren may remember you, but their children will not, and their children will not. You will be forgotten. But if you go to Troy, fight against the Trojans, you will stamp your name upon history. You will have eternal glory. Your name will live forever. You will have a kind of immortality. And of course, this excites Achilles. This is what he wants. He wants immortality. He wants fame. He wants kleos. Fame, reputation, glory. So he decides to go to war against the wishes of silver-footed Thetis, his mother. And now the Greeks have gathered. They have gathered at Aulis, port city. But they cannot sail out of Aulis because the winds are blowing the wrong way. They wish to sail east, and the winds are blowing westward, pushing the ships back onto the shore. Agamemnon is getting very annoyed now, and he consults the dream seer, the bird interpreter, Calchas. We always turn to Calchas when we want to know the will of the gods. What is going on, Calchas? Why are the winds, after so many days, blowing the wrong direction? What must I do, Calchas, to send my fleet to Troy? Agamemnon, said Calchas, I have interpreted the bird signs, I have consulted the dreams, and the gods have told me that one of Artemis's favorite deer was killed. By you, Agamemnon. What? Yes, you. And so in vengeance, she is causing the winds to blow the wrong way to keep you from your war. Of course. It's gods and goddesses. What must I do, Calchas, to reverse this? The only way to reverse the winds, said Calchas, is to sacrifice your eldest daughter, Iphigenia. Oops, okay, wow, she exacts a high price for her favorite deer. So, the eldest daughter, Iphigenia. Agamemnon has 3 children with crazy cray Clytemnestra. He has Iphigenia, Electra, and the boy Orestes. So Iphigenia being the eldest. Oof. Well, what does Agamemnon do? He's already a scumbag. Why not be a liar? So, he lies to his wife Clytemnestra. He sends her a message saying, quickly, with all haste, send Iphigenia to Aulis, for I wish to marry her to Achilles before we go off to war at Troy. Clytemnestra, though she is told to stay home, of course disobeys, because what mother wants to miss her daughter's wedding, especially her eldest daughter? Oh, my baby's getting married, and especially to Achilles, the most eligible 12-year-old greatest warrior of all time in the world. Amazing, marvelous. Where will we find enough roses to fill the rose bowls? So Clytemnestra makes a big deal out of the wedding plans, dresses up Iphigenia, and they make their way from Mycenae to Aulis. Imagine Agamemnon's surprise when his wife shows up. I distinctly, honey, I told you to stay in Mycenae. Ridiculous. I knew you couldn't mean it. I'm not going to miss my daughter's wedding. That's absolutely absurd. Well, it is absurd, especially when they have to finally reveal to everybody involved, Achilles, Iphigenia, and Clytemnestra, that actually no one's getting married. The ceremony that they see before them is not a wedding ceremony, but a sacrificial one, and Iphigenia is to be taken to the altar. Clytemnestra is held back. She screams and cries that they not sacrifice her beloved daughter. Agamemnon does not listen. He raises the knife and kills his daughter Iphigenia. In the original version of the myth, yes, the girl dies. Iphigenia dies. The moment her blood touches the altar, the winds begin to blow the correct direction. Now, the Greeks, even the ancient Greeks, had somewhat of a problem with human sacrifice. It's very scary. Human sacrifice is freaky. And the old story, of course, has sort of the freakiest version of they kill that girl. Even in the parallel story in the Bible, the sacrifice of Isaac, they don't kill that kid. The angel of the Lord comes down and stops Abraham. Well, in add-on, an updated version of the myth, the one that comes later, the retelling, is that as the knife is coming down to kill the young girl, Artemis stops the proceedings. A golden stag flies out of the sky, just like all golden stags do, scoops up Iphigenia after drop-kicking Agamemnon, semi-joking. Iphigenia gets on the golden stag's back. "Come with me if you want to live." And the golden stag flies off into the air with Iphigenia on its back, just like golden stags do. Drops her off in the land of the Taurians, and there she lives out the rest of her days. Because humans have a problem with human sacrifice, surprisingly, and the original version shows the true horror of Agamemnon killing his daughter. It shows his resolve. He really wants to go to war against the Trojans. But later Greeks, later writers, they were a little bit iffy about the killing Iphigenia part of the story. Don't worry, Clytemnestra will come back. She will be plotting her vengeance for the next 10 years. So the fleet sets out. The winds are blowing in the correct direction towards the east, and a fleet of 1,000 ships. Helen had the face that launched 1,000 ships. It's actually 1,207. Oh well. Let's round down. Round down? Why round down? We usually round up. Quiet. Face that launched 1,000 ships. The mighty fleet of the Achaean army heading for Troy. We leave Aulis. First, we're going to head to the island of Lemnos, stopping off there. We have to resupply before we make our first assault on Troy. So the Achaeans stop at Lemnos, and while on the island, Philoktetes, the son of Poias, the inheritor of Heracles' bow and poisoned arrows, the arrows that were dipped into the blood of the Lernaean Hydra, the second labor of Heracles, deadly poisoned arrows, and Heracles' mighty bow. Philoktetes was hunting for game when he became startled by a snake. He startled backwards. He tripped and he fell, and he spilled all those arrows about him, both the bee-venomed arrows and the non-bevenomed arrows. In his frenzied retreat from the snake, his ankle grazed the barbed tip of one of those poisoned arrows. It didn't take much, for the Hydra's blood was very potent, but the whole foot began to swell to a hideous size. It needed daily lancing and draining. Pus poured out of it. It hurt Philoktetes immensely, but he refused to let the rest of the Achaeans amputate his foot. The sickened man was delaying the Achaean assault on the Troad, but he was seen as a valuable addition to the army. I mean, he had the bow of Heracles, he had those poison arrows, but now it seems like he's more of a liability. Agamemnon had put his daughter to the knife. He saw little reason to wait around much longer for this guy who's got a big swollen foot and is probably about to die, because Lernaean Hydra's blood is pretty serious stuff. Additionally, the man had become delirious and fevered from the snake venom. He could no longer be reasoned with, and he had trained a knocked poison arrow in that bow of Heracles, and he had trained it on any sound or sight, real or imagined. No one could get near him, because he would immediately draw the bow and threaten to shoot, screaming at things that either were there or not, because he was hallucinating from his fever, from the venom. In the end, Odysseus finally convinced the Atreidae, the sons of Atreus, Agamemnon, Menelaus, to leave Philoktetes behind on Lemnos, because they needed to leave. They needed to go off to war. Don't worry, Philoktetes will return, because that bow of Heracles is too sweet of an item to just leave behind on an island. The Achaeans finally completed their sailing and made it to the Troad. They made it to Troy. They set up camp on the beach. They put their ships up on the beach, and they fought the Trojans for 9 years. In the intervening years, the Greeks conquer all of the surrounding area here. Feed the army, gathering gifts, treasure, good stuff from all the cities that they've taken, all the cities they've sacked and destroyed, and brought it back to their main camp here in Troy, the staging ground for the Achaean raiding and invasion of the entire coastline of Asia. Troy is the largest city in the area, has the thickest and highest walls, so therefore it is able to hold out for the 10 years that it does. Meanwhile, the neighboring cities and towns, they don't stand much of a chance against the raiding Achaean army. The troops of both the Achaean and the Trojan armies are equally matched, for there are a lot of Achaeans, and the Trojans, though there are less of them than the Achaeans, they have many allies from all of Asia to come and help them. The greatest warrior of the Achaeans is Achilles. Hector, the greatest warrior of the Trojans. And the gods, of course, well, they're not just going to sit on the sidelines. They have children who are fighting this battle. Each god is going to pick a side, and they're going to fight amongst each other as well, and empower their mortal and demigod offspring to fight. In the next video, we will talk about Homer's Iliad. We will begin by discussing Achilles, the greatest warrior of the Achaeans, and Hector, the greatest warrior of the Trojans.